G'day Guardians, Roguey here. Since the release of Arc 3.0, I've been scratching my head, trying to figure out what do I want my Arc Warlock to highlight. The reimagining of Ionic Traces and the introduction of the new Warlock exotic, Fallen Sunstar, seemed like it was going to be the play. But after multiple loadouts, I just wasn't feeling like this build was for me. Back to the drawing board. Looking for inspiration, I went through all my Warlock builds and began reminiscing on how much I enjoyed running my Stasis Mantle of Battle Harmony build. Mantle of Battle Harmony enhances any weapons-focused build, providing a free 20% buff to weapons matching our subclass. So I figured, rather than reinvent the wheel, let's see how this build holds up with an Arc 3.0 flavor. But that's not the only Arc-flavored experience this video provides. Matt and I have partnered up with the fine folk at Destiny ANZ to give away our third and final Arc-themed speaker. If you want to enter, just make sure to be subscribed to the channel and leave a comment on the video letting us know which Arc build you've been enjoying the most. Only thing to note though is you must be located in Australia or New Zealand to win. Good luck, Guardians. Back to your regularly scheduled build. So let's talk about why I believe Mantle of Battle Harmony and Arc 3.0 is such a great synergy. First off, I want to draw your attention to what might be one of the best perks added to Destiny 2, Vault Shot. Vault Shot gives its bearer extreme ad clearing potential, allowing you to apply Jolt to any target after a kill and a quick reload. Once Jolt has been applied, any further damage to the jolted target sends out waves of chain lightning bouncing off any nearby enemy. I was a bit skeptical at first about how useful this was going to be, but its effect cannot be understated. I use Tarnished Metal as my Vault Shot weapon of choice, but have heard it also feels great on Brigand's Law. Now, it's important to note that Arc 3.0 has some special ammo synergies that we can also be taking advantage of. With Tarnished Metal taking up our energy weapon slot, we'll be utilizing an Osmosis Fortissimo. We'll be going into further details once we cover our fragments. I really like all three of the Warlock aspects, but ultimately landed on Arc Soul and Electrostatic Mind. A lot of this build's power revolves around being amplified, which is easy enough thanks to Electrostatic Mind. This aspect allows us to generate Ionic Traces en masse, creating one each time we defeat a target with an Arc ability, or if the target is affected by either Jolt or Blind, something that we'll be doing a lot. Ionic Traces function very similar to Elemental Wells, giving us ability energy upon collection. Thankfully though, Ionic Traces have built-in Seeking, allowing them to locate you anywhere on the battlefield. Collecting these traces will make us amplified. There are a lot of different reasons that we need to be amplified for this build to be effective, and the first is Arc Soul. Everyone should be familiar with our little Arc buddy, our loyal lightning lad, always charged up and ready to lend a hand. Arc Soul is a simple enough aspect. Cast down your Healing Rift and receive an Arc buddy. Becoming amplified supercharges our little friend, causing a massive DPS increase. You can switch out Arc Soul for Lightning Surge as a matter of personal preference. I just like Arc Soul as it makes use of us being amplified. Ball Lightning is my melee of choice for this build. The extra range allows us to easily proc the right hook origin trait of Tarnished Metal. Now, onto the good stuff, the Fragments. Spark of Beacons piqued my interest very early on in the season, but I could never find a situation that benefited from having it. For a fragment, it has a very specific list of conditions you need to meet before it becomes effective. Spark of Beacons creates a blinding explosion after you kill an enemy with an Arc special weapon, when amplified. This is where our Osmosis Fortissimo comes into play. I wanted to run Spark of Beacons, but not give up my Vault Shot Scout Rifle, so having an Arc kinetic weapon solves this, and a shotgun is the perfect pairing for an AoE blinding effect, giving us so much agency when running in and clearing a pack of adds. Since we'll be spending a majority of our combat loop amplified, it's a no-brainer to take Spark of Amplitude. We'll be using these Orbs of Power to fully charge our super as quickly as possible. Spark of Discharge has fit in nicely in this build since the majority of our ability regen is going to be coming from collecting those Ionic Traces. It's a similar case with Spark of Ions. Vault Shot gives us an endless supply of Jolt, meaning we're constantly generating Ionic Traces. I think this Arc loadout has some great building blocks for a Fallen Sunstar setup if Mantle of Battle Harmony is not your style. Speaking of armor, let's check out which mods we'll be using to tie this build together. We'll start with the combat style mods, then go through each specific slot. Font of Might is at the core of our mod setup, providing our weapons with a decent stack of bonus damage. For well generation, I run both Melee Wellmaker and Elemental Armaments. I favour Melee Wellmaker over Elemental Ordnance here, as we need to be making use of our grenade to proc Osmosis, or else the build kinda falls apart. We have Elemental Time Dilation for an increased Font of Might duration, and Seeking Well so we aren't forced to chase down each well that we spawn. Now onto the specific mod slots. In Helmet, I'm running 2 Harmonic Siphons. This is partly due to its low cost, but also the increased super energy our Orbs of Power provide when we are running a second copy. For Mantle of Battle Harmony to give our weapons a damage buff, our super meter needs to be filled. This helps us achieve that goal much quicker. I also run the Bottomless Bounty 1 mod in my Artifact slot as to provide an improved buff to my Tarnished Metals Right Hook perk. In arms, I'm running Double Focusing Strike for increased Healing Rift uptime, but these can be swapped out for whichever champion mod the activity calls for. I do hope we find an alternative solution to champion mods eventually, as having them take up valuable arm mod slots is getting a bit dry. It's a shame because the arm slot has so many powerful mods and it's always going to be getting overwritten by the need to run the champion mods. For our chest, we've kept it pretty simple. Just a thermo-shock plating and a melee damage resistance. Down in our legs, shotgun holster was a must for me. The reload speed of Fortissimo is painfully slow, which I found was interrupting the high octane combat loop that Amplify provides. So rather than spending 10 seconds fully reloading my shotgun, I can swap back to scout, clean up any remaining enemies, while shotgun holster does the work for me. Finally, our bond. I regret not picking up the legendary Bond of the Battle Harmony ornament from Season of the Haunted so I could make full use of its custom effect. But I do like these creepy little vials. Anyway, the mods. Furthering our pursuit of generating the most amount of Ionic Trace possible, we've equipped Trace Evidence. This 4-cost seasonal mod creates Ionic Traces when we deal precision damage to an arc debuff enemy. This means once we've got Vault Shot active, we have another reliable source of Ionic Traces. Outreach to feed our melee energy, and Amped Up are our final 2 mods to round out the build. The combat loop of this build is simple enough. Start the fight with Ball Lightning to proc Right Hook and creating yourself an easy Ionic Trace. Once you collect the Ionic Trace, you'll become amplified. Make use of the increased target acquisition and range to get an easy kill with Tarnished Metal. Proc to reload Vault Shot. Place down a Rift for a supercharged Arc Buddy. This should allow you to easily tear through any enemies in your path. The thing I like most about this build though, is you can completely switch up your playstyle on a dime. Once you were amped up, swap to your shotgun, proc Osmosis, and unleash the beast. Each kill will subsequently blind all nearby enemies, giving you free reign to wreak havoc. I was having a great deal of success using this build for solo Lost Sectors and the King's Fall raid. Thanks for watching, and as always, we'll see you next time, Guardians.